The question on many Democrats' minds is how can they flip the Senate map in 2026? And for a quick answer to answer it, they can't. It is nearly impossible for the Democrat Party to flip the Senate into their control. As of right now, I have their ceiling at 49 seats. I currently have it. If they win Minnesota, hold Michigan, hold Georgia, flip North Carolina, they're only at 48 seats. If they somehow win Maine, they're only at 49 seats. You need to pierce 2 more seats if the Democrats want to win. But the big question, in the 2 seats that are currently held by Republicans, North Carolina and Maine, the big question is how can Democrats flip the North Carolina Senate race in 2026? This is probably the most vulnerable Republican-held seat there is in the 2026 midterms. I have no doubt in my mind. Tom Tillis, the current incumbent senator, is a vulnerable senator up for re-election. And it will be challenging for Democrats to flip this seat, but it's not out of reach. It is 100% feasible for the Democrats to flip this seat, given the state's purple, status in recent elections and really competitive electoral history on both sides of the aisle. Incumbent Senator Tom Tillis is up for re-election, and several really strategic factors could enable Democrats to capitalize on opportunities to secure a victory in the state of North Carolina. So today we are going to be talking about probably 4 or 5 different ways on how Democrats can flip the North Carolina Senate race in 2026. And number 1, it's a strong candidate. You have to recruit a strong candidate. Right now, the only Democrat who's in the race is Wiley Nickel, who is a former U.S. representative from North Carolina's 13th congressional district. He flipped a Republican-leaning district. And Roy Cooper is the former the Attorney General and Governor of North Carolina. He is not in the race right now, but he is seen as the strongest candidate. The Democrats and Republicans across the board regard him as the best chance the Democrats have to flip this seat. Cooper has a proven track record, winning in statewide elections. He has a 6-0 record in statewide elections. He was elected Attorney General 4 separate times. He even ran unopposed in 2012. 4 separate times he was elected as Attorney General from the state of North Carolina and won the governor's mansion in 2016, beating the incumbent Republican governor. The first time it had ever happened in North Carolina's history that an incumbent governor was beat. An incumbent governor was beat at the same time while Donald Trump won the state. He won the state. You can look here in 2016. The incumbent senator at the time, Richard Burr from North Carolina, won re-election pretty handily by almost 6 percentage points. Donald Trump carried the state in 2016 by 3 and almost 4 points. Well, at the same time, Governor Roy Cooper, or soon-to-be Governor Roy Cooper, won the election by about 1/4 of a percentage point, won by about 10,000 votes, beating the incumbent Republican governor. That is huge. That is huge. This is a state that consistently was the one swing state that voted for Trump in 2020. The one swing state. You look at this. North Carolina voted for Trump. Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, all voted for Biden. Even Nebraska's 2nd congressional district voted for Biden. It was the only swing state that Trump won. But yet somehow Roy Cooper was able to win his re-election in 2020 by a pretty good margin. He won by almost 5 percentage points. Roy Cooper has bipartisan appeal, a really high approval rating, and his ability to outperform other Democrats on the same ticket in North Carolina makes him a very formidable candidate. Very. And a longtime aide noted that Roy Cooper receives daily encouragement. People are reaching out to him daily to run. That shows there is huge support within inside of the Democrat Party. And if he enters the race, I've already said it, if he enters the race, this is where I have it right now. My prediction, if you're to ask me, Minnesota is a lean blue. Michigan is a slight blue. Georgia would be a toss-up right now. North Carolina is a toss-up. New Hampshire is a lean, if not slight, but it's lean blue. And Maine is a lean blue or lean red state as of right now. I have Alaska, probably would be a little more lean than people would like to admit, but I think it would be a lean state at the end of the day. So these are your really battlegrounds. And it's kind of funny because you have 2 governors who either are former governors or incumbent governors who are waiting on their announcement to run for the Senate race to see what it's going to be. So if Brian Kemp jumps in the Georgia race, I have this as a lean Republican. If Roy Cooper's in this race, I have it as a slight, even though Tom Tillis is an incumbent, doesn't really matter much in North Carolina. I would have this as a slight blue, slightly lean left, so Roy Cooper's winning by less than a percentage point. So that's number one, recruiting a strong candidate. Number two, exploiting Tom Tillis' vulnerabilities. Tillis has a lot of vulnerabilities, especially within his own party. He's been censured by his own party. Back in 2023, I believe, he was censured by his own party for his support over gun control and same-sex marriage, signaling that there's a lot of discontent among conservatives, the grassroots of the party, that is very discontent with him, that want someone else. And a potential primary challenge, really, I think it's inevitable. We already know Andy Nilsson is a retired businessman who filed to run in January. Mark Robinson, I'm pretty sure he already came out and said that he is not going to be running in this race here. Really, probably good. If Mark Robinson was going to be the nominee, I'll take Tom Tillis any day of the week over Mark Robinson. Any day of the week. But a hard right primary change could push Tom Tillis to adopt some more extreme positions, some more right positions, which would alienate some more moderates and independents in the state in a general election. But you do have to shore up your base at the end of the day because you need to drive out your base. But Democrats could capitalize on really this polarizing rhetoric that's in a purple state. If Tom Tillis adopts some things that are maybe more polarizing in the state, it could hurt him in a general election because at the end of the day, a primary does you diddly squat. The primary, it's nothing compared to the general election. It's like it's a big thing, but at the end of the day, it's like it doesn't really do anything as far as it doesn't give you any power. It hits you one step closer. But, Tom Tillis has always tried to portray himself as this pragmatic, but Democrats can really highlight that he's aligned a lot with the Trump agenda. And we know that midterms are historically bad for incumbents. Now, Tom Tillis has done a decent job separate himself from the Trump administration, but at the end of the day, my issue with Tom Tillis is when he separates from the Republican Party, he separates on the wrong issue. He separates on gun control and immigration. That's where he distanced himself from the Republican Party, like the issues that are most strongly that the Republicans pull the best on. And at the end of the day, incumbency isn't necessarily a guarantee in North Carolina. The last 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 senators who were incumbents lost re-election in North Carolina. But at the end of the day, people have poo-pooed on Tom Tillis for years. But at the end of the day, he still pulls out and wins. He does. So that's something they're going to have to deal with. Cal Cunningham was definitely expected to win. The average poll had him up about 2.5 to 3 percentage points. Not a lot of polls that had Tillis winning, but he still won by 100,000 votes at the end of the day. And that's what matters. The polls don't really matter. What matters is this final tally right here. But like we said, it could be with Donald Trump in office. It could hurt Republicans down ballot, especially when it comes to Donald Trump's approval when it comes to the economy. I support Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs. I do not support the way that Donald Trump rolled out his reciprocal tariffs. That will be a very hot point, a key target for Democrats in the midterms. It just will be. And North Carolina isn't this deep red state. This is a modest Republican state, winning by 2, 3, 4 points, with a serious history of ticket splitting in the state, a lot higher than the national average. You need evidence. We already went through it. Look at the fact that they elected Richard Burr in 2016, they elected Roy Cooper in 2016, and they voted for Donald Trump, and they were all by different margins. All by different margins. And the reality is that 40% of the electorate in the state is made up of independents. You have to appeal to a large, 4 in 10 voters in North Carolina do not affiliate themselves with either party. They just don't. And Democrats, if they need to focus on mobilizing urban areas like Charlotte, like Raleigh, right, like Durham. As it's like the suburban counties and the urban counties are going to be huge, especially with the demographic shifts that we've seen in North Carolina. North Carolina has definitely been moving towards the Democrats. It's like there's no doubt about it. You look at this. Now, granted, the Republicans did pick up a number of districts here, but ultimately, you look at some of these dark blue districts, it's like they are moving. It's like they're still pretty hard to the left. It's like you look at this. Harris won by 22. Biden's winning by 22, 21, or 27, 22, 21, 25. Obviously not as big of margins, but there's still pretty big margins for the Democrat Party at that point. Now, granted, the Republicans did flip a number of counties in 24, but 26 is a totally different election. You are appealing to different voters in a midterm election versus a presidential election. And the Republicans, I don't feel like have put in enough groundwork to make sure that they can do that, to make sure that they can turn out the voters that they need to win in 2026. Granted, we're a long ways away. We're 18, 19 months away. This is all kind of hearsay at this point. But ultimately, I think the Democrats, between fundraising, Roy Cooper has his own fundraising network inside of North Carolina. He can fundraise like there's no tomorrow. It's like there's no doubt about it. And Democrats are going to pour hundreds of millions of dollars into this race. Republicans already said they're going to pour $500 million into this race. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Democrats do the same thing. And they could really try and build a brand around common sense Democrat policies, moderate Democrat policies that cross the line, that cross over the partisan line. And, they need, if they capitalize properly on the missteps of the Trump administration, especially when it comes to the economy right now. Now, Trump's got a year and a half to turn it around. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot that could happen. And Tom Tillis is going to get a lot of ammunition here soon. I promise you. But Democrats, if Cooper's in this race, are very well positioned. They are. Now, even if they win North Carolina, does that mean they're going to win control of the Senate? I don't think so. I don't see a world in which they do. I really hate to see that, or to say that, but I don't see a chance that they do. And not hate to say it, but I hate to say that, they have no chance at winning, but just look at the map. Structurally, how are they going to win here? Now, Republicans have won every North Carolina Senate race since 2010. The last Democrat to win was Kay Hagan back in 2008, I think. It's like the last time it voted for a Democrat at the presidential level was 2012? No, 2008. Romney won it by like 2 points, I think, in 2012. But yeah, Kay Hagan, won by 8.5 points. Great. It was a good year for Democrats. It was 2008. It was Barack Obama. They picked up a ton of seats. Virginia, North Carolina, Alaska, New Mexico, Colorado, Oregon, Minnesota, New Hampshire. Shaheen beat out Chris Sununu's brother. Gosh, what's his name? I can see his face in my head right now. John Sununu. Norm Coleman and Al Franken in Minnesota. That was a pretty big election. It's like they just were. Alaska, obviously you have a huge behemoth of a political dynasty in Alaska. But ultimately, Mark Warner won Virginia by 30 points. Over 30 points. Democrats did great in this election. And I don't think they're going to do this good. But could you see something like a 2006 for Democrats? Could you see something like this? Where maybe they even encroach on places that are pretty red territory. Claire McCaskill won Missouri 2006. John Tester won a real close race in Montana. Sherrod Brown won a pretty tight race in Ohio, but ended up winning. Mike DeWine went on to win by pretty big margins in the governor's race later on. Pennsylvania, Bob Casey. The midterms are just different. They're just different. It's a different world when you come to the midterms. It's a different voter you're trying to attract here. And like we said, midterms tend to turn out the opposition party. And Republicans must overcome this, especially if Trump's policies do not immediately impact voters on, their daily lives immediately or anytime soon. But all in all, Democrats can flip the North Carolina Senate seat. They got to start by they got to nominate Roy Cooper, and they got to run a moderate campaign. But there's a lot of things that could pull Democrats. The progressive wing of the party could pull, Roy Cooper further and further to the left. Roy Cooper not allowing transgender mentally ill men to play sports with women. That's a big political liability. But ultimately, he's 6-0 in statewide elections. That's a pretty damn good record. Like, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That's a pretty damn good record. And like we said, it comes down to you nominate Roy Cooper. You exploit Tom Tillis's extreme political liabilities that he has, both in the primary and the general election. You avoid a nasty Democrat primary. Avoid it. You save resources. You save face for the general election. You have a campaign that's focused on economic issues, bipartisan appeal, mobilizing urban and younger voters that maybe felt alienated from the Trump administration so far. And although the Senate map will be challenging for Democrats across the board, North Carolina's status as a battleground state and its really competitive history makes it a prime opportunity for Democrats to pick up this seat. So that's going to wrap things up for today, folks. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think Democrats can flip this seat in North Carolina, or are Republicans going to hold on? Let me know down below. We will catch you next time. But don't forget to drop down below, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future, and we'll catch you next time, folks.